Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at just one thing. The lyrics to Alison McLean's track, Moving On. We're going to really pull apart the philosophy packed into these few lines. It's all about movement, change, persistence. Our mission, really, is to get into the structure and the core ideas here, because the text is, well, it's repetitive, almost like a chant, but somehow it captures this relentless feeling of flux, that feeling that seems to define modern life. How do these lyrics manage that paradox moving forward, but with no idea where we're actually going?
Yeah, it's fascinating. McLean gets so much depth from such simplicity. My first thought is always the repetition, yes, but also how it immediately sets up moving on. It's not framed as like a personal choice or some crisis. It's presented as universal, almost mandated, you could say.
Okay, let's dig into that mandate. The chorus is the core, right? It comes back again and again. Let us go. We are all moving on.
Roll.
You just can't ignore it. It feels like a statement, a declaration.
Precisely. And the key is the pronouns, us and all. That's the foundation. This isn't just one person's story. It's about the collective, the human condition, maybe. It suggests this constant movement isn't optional. It's just how things are for you, for me, for everyone.
A fundamental law.
Kind of, yeah. And notice the tense. We're all moving on. Present continuous. It's not, we should move on. It's happening now, constantly. It's inescapable. Almost like physics applied to life itself. We're just always in motion.
I get that sense of constant motion, but isn't it a bit strange paired with that first line, let us go? If we're already moving, if it's mandatory, who are we asking for permission? Is something holding us back, or are we just resisting what's inevitable?
That's a really good point. It touches on acceptance versus choice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If the movement is mandatory, then maybe let us go isn't about starting the movement. Maybe it's about surrender, like an imperative to just accept the change is going to happen, whether we like it or not. It sets up this core tension, our resistance versus the unavoidable path.
Okay. So it's like the permission we have to give ourselves to just go with the flow. But if we accept that flow, where does it take us? Usually movement means goals, right? A destination. McLean just throws that out immediately. That's where it gets really powerful, I think.
Definitely. Starting right off with movement, with no destination,
Yeah.
that's a philosophical punch. It basically separates motion from, well, from progress, doesn't it? We're moving, sure, but not necessarily towards something better or a defined end.
And that leads straight into that really famous line, probably the most fatalistic bit, like dust in the wind. That simile just seems to take away all power from the person, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And what's fascinating is how it links us, the individuals, to these completely uncontrolled natural forces. I mean, dust. Dust is the ultimate example of determinism, right? It has zero internal agency. It can't choose where it goes. It's just subject to the environment, the wind, gravity, whatever. So calling ourselves dust in the wind suggests our own movement is, well, largely separate from our conscious choices.
Yeah, that really hits home.
And it resonates, I think, because it taps into that very modern anxiety, that feeling that no matter how much we plan or strive, these big impersonal forces, economic shifts, global events are kind of steering the ship anyway. Makes you feel small, like dust.
That image of being carried by the air is strong, but then the lyrics shift, don't they? Later on, we get a totally different environment. It switches from air to water, unchartered waters into the unknown.
Right.
And that changes the feeling. It's less passive, maybe?
Yeah.
Being blown about feels different than navigating water, even if you don't know where you're going. It implies some risk, some effort.
The water metaphor really doubles down on the uncertainty. Uncharted waters literally means you're off the map, somewhere nobody's documented before. So you lose any comfort of knowing the hazards, the currents, anything. It just layers the idea of peril onto that existing theme of directionlessness.
So you've got these two big metaphors.
Yeah, think about it. Air, the dust, suggests this kind of blind submission to immediate forces, random. Water, the uncharted seas, suggests more enduring, massive uncertainty. Your survival might depend on being vigilant, even if you can't actually steer towards a specific port. But both images hammer home that lack of a known goal.
And the lyrics make sure we don't forget it. That core idea, with no destination, like dust in the wind, moving on, it comes back right after that first instrumental break. It's like a structural reminder, isn't it? Making sure you understand. Movement without a set purpose is the default state here.
It is the foundation, yeah. It really forces you to confront that idea that in life, maybe the journey itself is the main event, not reaching any single goal. The goals might change or disappear entirely.
So far, though, it all sounds pretty bleak, very fatalistic. We're dust, blown around, lost at sea. But the lyrics do acknowledge why we're moving sometimes, those external forces. It mentions the winds of change and tides are turning.
Right. Those phrases are common shorthand, aren't they?
Yeah.
For circumstances just beyond our individual control. It's suggesting we don't always move because we had some great idea and decided, okay, let's launch the boat.
Yeah.
No, sometimes we move because the tide changed and basically pushed the boat off the shore whether we were ready or not. That's the external cause.
Okay, yeah.
And it connects perfectly back to the dust in the wind thing. Often, the movement is an involuntary reaction to the environment, not some deliberate choice against it. The wind doesn't ask if it can change direction. The tide doesn't wait for us.
But McLean doesn't just leave us there, thankfully. Not completely adrift. There's that beautiful counterpoint later on. It shifts the focus completely. It moves towards deliberate effort, one foot in front of the other, one step at a time.
Yes.
This line feels like it brings agency back into the picture, even after all the imagery argued for determinism. If we're just dust, why take a step at all?
And that's where the real philosophical tension is, I think. It's fascinating because the scale of effort suddenly shrinks dramatically. We go from these huge impersonal forces, winds, tides, right down to the tiny, meticulous action of just putting one foot down. It suggests that this grand, collective, mandatory process of moving on, well, it's only ever actually done through individual, slow, persistent effort. You can't control the wind, you can't map the uncharted waters, but you can choose to take that next single step.
So the argument is that our only real control is in the persistence.
Yeah.
In the action itself. The movement is mandatory, maybe directionless, forced on us.
Yeah.
But the effort to keep going, that daily task of just one foot, one step, that part's voluntary.
Exactly.
It's like this small act of defiance against those big, indifferent forces.
Perfectly put. It reframes what progress even means in this context. Progress isn't reaching some destination because the song says there isn't one. Progress is just continuing. The sustained ability to keep putting one foot in front of the other day after day. It turns that passive submission we talked about into something active endurance.
And that relentless feeling, that continuous action, it's really built into the song's structure too, isn't it? I mean, the most obvious thing is how much the chorus repeats. It's not just catchy. It feels like it mirrors that constant state of movement.
Oh, absolutely. The repetition works on you psychologically, not just musically.
Reesh.
It kind of simulates being stuck in this forward-moving loop. You, the listener, you can never really settle because that main theme, moving on, just keeps coming back. And the rhythm itself is propulsive.
Right.
But if you look even closer at the other structural bits, you see how McLean shapes the whole experience of this constant motion. Like the instrumental sections, they punctuate the verses, but they don't feel like full stops. More like pauses. Pauses for reflection within the ongoing flow.
Like catching your breath while the wind is still blowing around you.
Exactly. The music gives you just enough space to process the existential weight of it all before the lyrics pull you back into that inevitable movement.
Yeah. That makes total sense. And then there's the ending. It's not a big, decisive finish, is it? Which would kind of imply you've arrived somewhere.
No, and the ending is crucial for the philosophy, I think. The track lists a specific melodic interlude, then a guitar outro, and finally a fade-out. And a musical fade-out. Well, that's a deliberate choice not to conclude the action, right?
It's the anti-destination ending.
Precisely. The movement doesn't resolve with a final chord that says the end. The sound just diminishes. Gets quieter, fades into the distance. It suggests the act of moving on might slow down, maybe become less prominent, but it never actually stops. The person, the subject, is still moving. They've just moved beyond where we can hear them.
Wow.
It really reinforces that idea that this state of flux is maybe eternal. You don't arrive. You just move out of view eventually.
Yeah, it hammers home that central paradox. The journey doesn't end with a bang. It just fades. The structure really does mirror the message. Life's movement is constant, and it only seems to stop when we can't perceive it anymore. So wrapping this up, our deep dive into these Alison McLean lyrics, it really shows this powerful argument about, well, the human condition. This act of moving on is presented as mandatory, something we all do, and fundamentally directionless dust in the wind, no destination.
Yeah. But then the endurance part, actually doing it, that's entirely personal. The real tension is that collision, isn't it? Between those huge impersonal forces, the winds, the tides, fade, whatever you call it, and that deeply personal, small, almost defiant act of just putting one foot in front of the other. We're told we are all moving on, but taking that next tiny step, that responsibility seems to land squarely back on you.
Which leaves us with something to think about maybe as you continue your own journey. If this constant motion is our fundamental state, and if there's no destination, Does the movement itself sort of become the purpose? And what does it really mean to say let us go when maybe you realize you never actually had the choice to stay still in the first place?